Alright, what is going on, guys? It is XLT here, and welcome back to another trade video on my channel. I've already done one about Alex Smith and Marcus Peters, and today the NFL has been a little bit of a mess, and I think a little bit would be an understatement. We've had two trades, and we've had two reports come out that players are no longer going to be with their teams in the next coming season, depending on, what happens. We don't really know. Players could say that, and then the front office ends up keeping them. We've also had some contract things with, a Steelers superstar. So let's jump right into things. Let's talk about the first trade of today's video, and that is going to be Alec Ogletree getting sent from the Los Angeles Rams to the New York Giants. He is being paired with a 2019 7th round pick, and in exchange for him, the Rams are getting a 2018 4th and 6th round pick. I think that's a pretty good trade, pretty good value. Alec Ogletree isn't a top tier middle linebacker in the NFL. He'd probably be in the second tier, and he got a pretty big contract, $10 million, or like 10.2, I think. Let me do the math on that real quick. But he did get a pretty big contract just last season. He's only 26 years old, which is very, very good. I just think, I think that the Giants adding him to their front seven is going to help out a lot. They've really been missing. That's the one piece on their defense I think they've been missing the most, is a linebacker who can lead that defense and who can control the defense and can be the quarterback of the defense and all that stuff. Alec Ogletree really didn't fit in their new scheme when the Rams were in a 4-3, when Robert Quinn was at his prime, and they had Chris Long on the other side, and they had Nick Fairley and Michael Brockers on the inside, or Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers to play in the 2D tackle spots, and then they had their three linebackers. I thought that's when they were at their best, but now they've moved to a 3-4, and they have found that, Alec Ogletree doesn't really fit in that scheme very well, but he is a very good 4-3 middle linebacker, as he did play most of his career as an outside linebacker, because James Laurinaitis was the inside linebacker for that Rams team, so he's pretty athletic for an inside linebacker spot, and I think he's pretty good in coverage too. He's a very speedy guy. Reminds me a little bit of Roquan Smith. That's probably who my pro comparison would be to him, but he's a little bit slower and a little bit less fluid in coverage, but he's a better in the box guy, and I think he's pretty good. He's going to add a different level to that Giants defense that they've been missing for the last couple of years. I think if they would have had that against the Packers, they probably would have been able to stop the run and get after Aaron Rodgers a little bit more. Just adding another physical, athletic piece to your front seven would be a great starting point for that. And now that's another need that they don't have to address in the draft. They can focus more on their quarterback situation, their offensive line, their secondary. They can focus on all that stuff, because now they have a stud middle linebacker that's locked up for until he's about 30 years old, because he is 26 right now. I can't believe he's 26. It just seems like I feel like Alec Ogletree has been in this league for like 9 years or something like that. So that just goes to show you how durable he's been and how good he's been. He hasn't been like a top tier linebacker. He hasn't been like who's a top tier linebacker? He hasn't been like a Ryan Shazier or who else is a top tier linebacker? Jeez, why am I just now thinking of this? He's not been like a Derek Johnson or anything like that, where he's been like one of the best linebackers in the league, but he's been a very solid player for that LA and past St. Louis Rams team. Over the last 2 seasons, he's combined about 230 tackles, which is pretty good. 100 tackles a season about, and I think that he's not necessarily a guy who's going to blitz for you from the inside. He can, but he's not super effective at it. He's more he's better in space when he gets to make plays in space, and he gets to be in the box and make plays against the run. So I think adding him to the New York Giants team makes them a lot better on defense, in my opinion, because they haven't really had a middle linebacker that can be a leader or a very good one in general. They have a guy like B.J. Goodson, who's not really that good. You have Devon Kennard, who's better at the outside linebacker position and not really at the inside, but he's still even not that great. But Alec Ogletree is going to add a leader and a captain and a quarterback of the defense, in a sense, because he knows a lot of stuff. He's got a very high football IQ, and he's played in different schemes, and he can move around. He can play outside, he can play inside, he can cover for you in a nickel situation, not at the nickel spot, but at the nickel linebacker. You're not going to have to worry about subbing him out and bringing in a cover linebacker for him. So I think this is a very good trade for the Rams, because they get rid of a guy that's tying them up on a lot of salary. Maybe they're going to go out and get somebody in free agency. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what they're going to do, but I don't know. I guess they did move him. They moved him out just because he didn't fit with their scheme. So I don't think they're going to address him in the first round of the draft. They're probably going to try and go get a linebacker maybe in the second or third round, or maybe they have guys that already are on the team that they think, okay, maybe we can bring these guys up and we can develop them into pretty good linebackers. I don't really know a lot about the Los Angeles Rams. My hometown team's the Chiefs, obviously, so that's who I like to pay attention to, practice squad players, up and coming players, all that stuff. So maybe I'll do some research on the Rams, find out who they've got in their works and stuff like that. And as for the Giants, I don't think they're giving up too much. A 4th and a 6th, 4th and 6th round players can contribute to your team. The Chiefs have had enormous success with 6th-round players over the last couple of years, so maybe that hurts the Giants a little bit. I don't really know their history on 4th and 6th-round picks or how effective they've been for the team, so I can't really be a very, I can't judge that very well. So I think a 4th and a 6th for Alec Ogletree is pretty good. I wouldn't have given up another player for him, so, and I'm glad the Giants didn't do that. And as for this trade, I'd give the Giants, this is probably a B plus. I don't want to give it a B plus. This is probably a B for the Giants and a B plus for the Rams because they got exactly what they wanted. They got 2 picks. They gave up a 7th round pick. It never really sticks with your team, usually ever. So, giving up a 7th round pick is pretty good if you're going to get 2 middle round picks and then, dumping a player's salary that you didn't really need on the team anyway. And maybe this frees up room to sign Sammy Watkins. I think that that's a move that they're going to try and do because they already did franchise tag LaMarcus Joyner, and I think that they want to try and develop Sammy Watkins into the weapon that he used to be at Clemson. So that's probably why they are dumping Alec Ogletree's salary. All right, diving into the second part of this video and the second trade of this video, we're going to be talking about another trade between geez, what is between? I don't know. We're going to be talking about another trade between 2 NFC teams. Obviously, well, I mean, if you're watching this video for information, it's not obvious to you, but the Seattle Seahawks have decided to trade Michael Bennett, a Pro Bowl and Super Bowl champion defensive end, to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a 5th round pick and a wide receiver named Marcus Johnson, who I have no idea. I have actually never heard of him before, so I can't really say much about him. But in terms of the effects of this trade and how good I think this trade is, honestly, in my opinion, it's just a salary dump and it's trying to get bad players out of an organization. The internal conflicts that the Seattle Seahawks have been experiencing over the last couple of seasons haven't been great, and I think they've kind of been spearheaded by Michael Bennett and Richard Sherman, if I had to guess 2 players. I know that they've had a lot of locker room conflicts and they just haven't been getting along with the coaches or each other, so I think sadly it is going to be an end of an era for the Legion of Boom. Richard Sherman is looking to probably be traded in the next couple days once free agency starts, and then you've got Michael Bennett, obviously, who is already traded, Cam Chancellor, who may or may not be traded, and Earl Thomas, who is told the Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett to come and get me in free agency if you can. So maybe they look to trade him. A player doesn't have to, or a team doesn't have to trade a player, but if the locker room situation and the front office situation and the relationship with the players and the coaches and the front office and the head people, if it's all toxic, then they can decide to trade a player, kind of how what they did with Marcus Peters. He had some on the field issues, wasn't really getting along with the front office, so they decided to trade him. I feel like the same thing could happen with a lot of the stars on the Seattle Seahawks defense. As for the Philadelphia Eagles side of this trade, this is a great trade. They're only giving up a 5th round pick and a wide receiver who they probably didn't use a lot. So, and they're getting, a very good veteran pass rushing, run stopping, very versatile defensive end here. He's kind of fallen off a little bit. He's kind of fallen off just a little bit, or a little bit just because of, age and all that stuff. He's nearing the 35, which is a pretty, that's a pretty ripe age to be playing at. That's kind of, especially the defensive end spot. At quarterback, that's not a huge concern because there's a lot of guys who are 35, nearing 35 for playing that position, but not defensive end. You got a guy like Julius Peppers who had just turned 38 and had a 10.5 sack season, so that's good for him. But I don't think Michael Bennett is anywhere near that good. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles will try and use him as a situational downs player where he comes in on short downs to stop the run, or he comes in on longer 3rd downs to try and get after the pass rusher. I feel like they need to start Derek Barnett and they need to get him as many reps as he can to try and help his development, because he played pretty good in the Super Bowl. Actually, he was the one who recovered that fumble that Brandon Graham caused, and that Eagles defensive line is pretty good. It's one of the best in the NFL, and they get even better by getting Michael Bennett. They may try and move him into an interior defensive lineman position, play D-tackle a little bit. He's a little undersized for that, but I think he could definitely make the transition. I think he's going to be willing enough. They're a team that can make another Super Bowl run. Hopefully they don't have Super Bowl hangover. They don't have a ton of guys who are free agents, but they do have some guys who are going to be impending free agents. They've got a guy like Nigel Bradham, who is a very integral part of that Super Bowl winning team. So I think that if they can get him back, or maybe they let him walk because of their cap situation, which is like worst in the NFL, I'm pretty sure. Maybe they let him walk. I'm not sure what they do, but Michael Bennett, it frees up cap space. It gets rid of a guy who may or may not have been causing problems in the locker room. His on the field play is kind of weird because he's kind of a hothead, but then again, he's not really. He only does it he gets aggravated, but when he gets aggravated, he acts out so wildly, and he did that against the Jacksonville Jaguars, jumping off sides and starting some beef with the offensive players like twice in 2 plays. So, I mean, I don't really know about what happened in the locker room, but I know that it wasn't a good thing that happened. So, sad to see that the end of an era in the Legion of Boom, and it's, hopefully Michael Bennett can kind of revitalize his career a little bit in what's it called, in Philadelphia. Hopefully he can revitalize his career there and probably, or maybe hopefully get back to a Super Bowl, maybe win another one. Who knows what the Eagles are going to be able to use him, or who knows how the Eagles are going to be able to use him. Gosh, I'm just stumbling all over the place today. I'm just trying to get this video out quick. I know this is a little late on the trades, but I had some classes, had some study sessions to go to because, spring break is coming up, midterms, all that good stuff. So sorry if the video's out a little late, but there's also another part to this trade. Richard Sherman's walking around the locker room saying his goodbyes to his teammates because he believes he's not going to be on the team next year, so maybe they're looking to trade him. Probably could get a lot out of Richard Sherman. He's a guy who can still be an effective cornerback for the next 3-4 years for any type of franchise that's looking for a cornerback. He's going to have to go to a team that's got a bigger salary cap, available cap, so that they can sign him, or not sign him, but so that they can take on his contract. And they could get a lot of picks out of that. They could get some players out of that. If I were the Seattle Seahawks, I would mainly target younger development type project players and mid to upper round draft picks, maybe a couple second or third rounders, and maybe a first you slide in there. If you don't get a player for Richard Sherman, you should probably get a first and a second, maybe. But if you can get a player, then that's very good. So and then you can maybe look to trade Earl Thomas too, maybe Cam Chancellor, maybe you just get rid of the whole thing. I think that would be a good idea for them if they're trying to rebuild, if they're trying to get back into that mold, because I don't think they're going to sign Jimmy Graham. So there goes your best red zone, offensive target. Yeah, Paul Richardson is good. That's who I was thinking of. But Doug Baldwin hasn't been playing great this year. He played very good last year, not the season that just happened, but the 2016-17 season. He was probably the MVP of my fantasy football team. He won me a couple games there. So maybe they just start to deconstruct this team. Maybe they start to tear him down. I'm not really sure what direction you would go with this team, but I'd like to see how they handle it. It's going to be a very intense free agency period, I can guess, just by the moves and the news that have come out in free agency, especially just from one organization in the Seattle Seahawks. And in other news around the NFL, there's been some contract issues with LeVeon Bell and the Pittsburgh Steelers, like we haven't been seeing that for the last 2 years. He's come out and said that he will think about sitting out at least half of the season if he doesn't get a restructured deal. Obviously, the Steelers came out and said that they were going to franchise tag him, and he thinks that he is above the level of the franchise tag, and I would agree with that. And I just think that the Steelers ought to just pay him. They ought to just come out and pay him. I don't know why. Maybe it's like a front office thing. Maybe they're like, he's like being he's being like a little prick about it, and he's like demanding all this money. I don't know. Do we want to pay this guy? In my opinion, you have to pay Le'Veon Bell. Best running back, most versatile running back in the NFL. He caught like 9 touchdowns this year, which is absolutely insane for a running back. He also ran for another, I think, like 7 to 10. He probably ran for another, maybe ran for 12. I'm not really sure. I don't really know the numbers off the top of my head, but I know he had a 1,000-yard season. He leads the NFL in scrimmage yards over the last like 2 or 3 years. I don't see why you're not paying this guy and why you're not signing him to a long-term deal. You ought to just get out of Ben Roethlisberger's contract as fast as you can. It's a terrible contract. He's a guy that's been contemplating retirement for 3 years. You just try and get out of that. Maybe restructure that, get yourself some more cap, and then you go and you restructure the deal, or you propose a long-term deal to Le'Veon Bell. I think that the long-term deal that they're proposing it's either not long enough, or B, it's not enough money, which are the only 2 reasons why you would deny a contract. So I don't think it's cocky or arrogant or a bad thing that he's trying to demand this money, because he definitely deserves it. He is the best running back in the NFL, in my opinion, and I don't think that he's come out and said he wants to end his career as a Steeler. He wants to be a Steeler, and that's where he wants to play and he wants to finish out his career as. And the front office, for some reason, is refusing to comply with that. They've got a lot of money tied up in different positions. If they can try and get out of those contracts, maybe trade those guys and then try and sign him, I'm not sure. But the Ben Roethlisberger contract is an issue. You've got other contracts that on the books, not off the top of my head, but obviously if you don't have enough cap to sign him, there's other contracts on the books that you need to take care of. But you can't let a guy like that just sit out half the season. If they let that happen, that is going to be absolutely insane. I don't see how you let that happen in any way, shape, or form. Also, in other news, I've said in other news like twice, so but another, kind of thing that's been floating around the NFL is that Aqib Talib wants to be released from the Broncos. I don't think that the Broncos are going to deal with his thug attitude anymore, running around the field, punching Michael Crabtree and causing an entire brawl to break out in the middle of a football game, snatching his chain. It's just, I don't like Aqib Talib. I never really have, and I haven't liked his acts that and his attitude over the last couple years. Don't get me wrong, I hate everybody on the Broncos and I hate everybody on the Raiders. I don't like any of them because I'm a Chiefs fan, so I automatically just hate everybody else in the AFC West, including, even the people that are good. I hate them. But he's just been a thug, and that's, I'm not trying to be, stereotypical or anything like that, but his attitudes have not reflected what the team has wanted to build over this last year. They wanted to build, a defense that's similar to the LOB. They've got two of the better corners in the NFL. I don't want to call Aqib Talib one of the best, but I'll call Chris Harris one of the best because I think Aqib Talib's kind of getting washed. But as he said, if he wants to be released, he's requested a release, and if he gets released, his target team is the Patriots. Try and go in there, fill the void that Malcolm Butler is going to leave in free agency, because he's probably going to head to the 49ers, or if the 49ers can't land him, or maybe the Broncos are going to try and deal Aqib Talib, get some value out of him. I think that's what you should do. An aging cornerback, you kind of want to get him out of there, and you don't want to just let him walk. He's a guy who's worth a lot, and especially to a 49ers team that may or not be good in the next coming years. You could probably get like a mid-round draft pick, maybe like a third or a fourth for him. So I don't really know what they're going to do in Denver. I hope that he doesn't go to the Patriots, because the Patriots seem to get everybody in free agency, as they have over the last 2 years. So maybe he goes to the 49ers. I'm not really sure how all that will pan out, but that's just some other news in the NFL. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the video, guys. Leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy. More content like this is gonna be coming soon, hopefully once free agency kicks off and the new league year starts on March 14th. I'm gonna be on spring break by then, so I will definitely be pumping out more videos because I'll be at home. I won't necessarily be at school having to focus on work and all that stuff, so I'll be home and I'll be able to sit down and create more content for you guys. Sorry I've been lacking this week a little bit on videos. I've had some midterm assignments and tests and all that good stuff, but I'll be getting back into it, getting more content out to you guys once spring break comes around. Let me know what your thoughts are on these trades down in the comment section below. Let me know if you think what you think about my thoughts, my reactions, and all that good stuff. If you want to see, I've been thinking about doing a weekly update video where I go and I just compile articles and information of stuff that happened in the NFL, important information, and maybe lower level stuff that most people don't hear about. I'm thinking about making a video where I compile all the stuff that happened in a week and making a video about that, kind of in a podcast format where I just go from point to point and I just talk and I give my opinion and all that stuff. It's going to be more of a live reaction, probably going to be like a 30-40 minute video, a longer video. Mine typically are, so that's just a video I'm thinking about. Let me know if you want to see something like that down in the comment section below. And that's all I've got for you guys today. This has been XLT signing out.